Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoy my video, please click the like button and share the video. It is the only way the YouTube algorithms really notices me. I will be very grateful to you. Demons Wanted Nukes? One man stopped them, but there's a catch. Scary story published by Scare Fiction. Chapter 1, The Ninth Circle. The stench of sulfur clawed at my throat, a metallic parasite clinging to my ragged clothes. It permeated everything in this frozen wasteland, a constant reminder of my eternal damnation. I huddled deeper into the shadows, the wind a relentless assault, whipping my exposed skin with icy needles. The Ninth Circle, a desolate tundra sculpted from despair, where even the ice seemed to writhe in unseen agony. Above, the bruised expanse of the sky stretched endlessly, devoid of any comforting celestial body. In the distance, jagged obsidian mountains pierced the oppressive sky, their peaks lost in swirling ash clouds. Crimson lightning pulsed like an angry artery, briefly illuminating a grotesque tableau of frozen souls, their faces contorted in an eternal silent scream. Each grotesque scene was a fresh stab of pain, a constant reminder of the torment that awaited me too. I shivered, the warmth of my mortal life a distant dream. How did I end up here, a slave in this frozen hell? The memories were hazy, a blurred collage of regret and injustice. All I knew for certain was my slavery, forced to serve the very beings responsible for my suffering, the demons. I shuffled forward, bare feet crunching on the frozen ground. The War Council chambers loomed ahead, a grotesque parody of a throne room carved from black ice. Gleaming obsidian pillars rose from the floor, supporting a ceiling adorned with murals that depicted human suffering in agonizing detail. One depicted a scene ripped straight from my worst nightmare, a caricature of my life that made bile rise in my throat. Joining other damned souls, already huddled in the shadows, I became another barely discernible form in the dim light. A low murmur of fear and despair filled the air, a constant soundtrack to our existence. As I watched, a hulking demon, his form shifting between a grotesque beast and a caricature of a man, entered the chamber. Gorgon, the jailer, a sadistic pleasure in the suffering of the damned. Gorgon cackled, his voice booming through the chamber. "Attention, slaves," he bellowed, amusement dripping from every word. "The War Council begins soon. Be on your best behavior. Wouldn't want to upset His Majesty. Now would we?" He grinned, revealing rows of needle-sharp teeth that glinted in the eerie red light. My body tensed as Gorgon circled the assembled souls, his eyes gleaming with malevolent joy. He stopped abruptly in front of a young woman, her eyes wide with terror. Faster than thought, a barbed whip materialized in his hand. The crack echoed through the chamber as he lashed out, the sound punctuated by the woman's raw, primal scream. A wave of nausea washed over me. Her terror mirrored my own, a constant reminder of the cruelty I endured daily. An image of my wife, her face etched with sadness, flickered in my mind. Was she suffering too, somewhere in this endless abyss? The thought brought fresh tears to my eyes, tears that instantly froze on my cheeks. As the woman crumpled to the ground, whimpering, Gorgon let out another booming laugh. "Such delicious fear," he purred, a fitting prelude to the glorious event to come. He cast his eyes towards the throne at the far end of the chamber, where a shadowy figure radiated an aura of malevolent power. Even from this distance, I could feel the oppressive presence of Lucifer, the lord of this infernal realm. The last rays of a dying crimson sun peeked through a gap in the ash clouds, casting an eerie red glow on the chamber. The War Council was about to begin. I sunk deeper into the shadows, my heart a leaden weight in my chest. I knew what was to come, another celebration of human suffering, another nail hammered into the coffin of humanity. But tonight, a flicker of something new ignited within me, a desperate hope, a sliver of a chance that tonight I might just witness something that could change everything. Chapter 2, Whispers of War. A wave of dizziness washed over me, and for a fleeting moment, the stench of sulfur vanished, replaced by the comforting scent of freshly brewed coffee and the rhythmic clatter of a keyboard. I was back in my study, sunlight streaming through the window, illuminating dust particles dancing in the air. My fingers flew across the keyboard, a symphony of clicks and clacks as I coded a program designed to improve energy efficiency. A warm feeling of accomplishment washed over me, a feeling I hadn't experienced in eons. The memory flickered and died, replaced by the harsh reality of the War Council chamber. Gorgon stood smugly before the assembled demons, relaying the results of his latest mission. "The tensions are at an all-time high, Your Majesty," he boomed. "Our whispers have fallen on fertile ground. The human leaders are itching to unleash their little toys." My gaze drifted towards the throne. A hulking figure sat there, shrouded in shadow. "Lucifer," he spoke, his voice a gravelly rasp that sent shivers down my spine. "Excellent work, Gorgon. Finally, those foolish humans see sense. Let their war machines cleanse the world. It will hasten their inevitable demise." A wave of unease washed over me. I couldn't understand why the prospect of a nuclear apocalypse filled Lucifer with such glee. Weren't the demons content to slowly torture souls in hell? The answer, I realized with a jolt, was simpler and more horrifying. Complete annihilation would erase any hope of rebellion, any chance of humanity ever challenging their dominion. Across the chamber, a horned demon with an air of aristocratic disdain scoffed. "Surely, Your Majesty, there is a more elegant solution than such barbarity." Lucifer turned his head, his shadowed eyes locking onto the speaker. "Asmodeus," he rumbled, "do enlighten us with your wisdom." Asmodeus straightened, his crimson armor gleaming in the dim light. "With all due respect, Your Majesty, a nuclear war will leave nothing but ash and irradiated waste. Far better to exploit existing human frailties. Let them destroy themselves from within." A slow smile spread across Lucifer's face. "Asmodeus, ever the strategist. You are correct, but sometimes a grand spectacle is necessary. Let them feel the true power of destruction, a taste of the chaos we represent." Throughout the conversation, my eyes darted around the chamber, taking in every detail. My gaze landed on a demon standing beside Gorgon. This one was different. He was leaner than the others, with a reptilian face and piercing yellow eyes. His armor, unlike the ornate plate worn by Asmodeus, was simple black leather, but on his chest, a symbol burned a swirling vortex that sent a jolt of recognition through me. Panic clawed at my throat. I didn't recognize the symbol itself, but the feeling it evoked a memory from a lifetime ago, a memory locked away in the deepest recesses of my mind. A memory of a forbidden experiment, a gateway I had inadvertently opened. Suddenly, the chamber doors slammed open. A blinding light filled the room, forcing me to shield my eyes. When the light subsided, a winged figure stood before us, radiating an otherworldly power. "Your reign of terror ends now, Lucifer," she declared, her voice echoing with authority. The War Council meeting had been interrupted. Hope, a fragile ember, flickered within me. But amidst the chaos, a terrifying question gnawed at my mind. What role did that symbol on the demon's armor play in all of this? And more importantly, what role did I play? Chapter 3, A Flicker of Hope. The sudden silence after the angelic warrior's proclamation was deafening. The demons exchanged confused glances, their usual aura of arrogance momentarily faltering. Lucifer, however, remained composed. A slow smile spread across his shadowed face, the sound of his amusement echoing through the chamber. "A brave show," he rumbled, his voice dripping with condescension. "But ultimately, futile." As the demons recovered their composure, a wave of nausea washed over me. The angelic warrior's arrival had ignited a flicker of hope within me, but it was quickly overshadowed by a chilling realization. This wasn't the first time I had witnessed Lucifer's amusement at the prospect of human destruction. A forgotten memory flickered at the edge of my awareness, a memory tinged with guilt and dread. Sleep in this desolate wasteland offered no solace. It was a battlefield of its own, a playground for demons to torment my already tortured soul. This night was no different. Vivid images flooded my mind, a sterile laboratory, rows of blinking computers, a sense of urgency bordering on mania. I was surrounded by colleagues, their faces etched with concern, but I ignored them, my gaze glued to the complex equations scrolling across the screen. I was on the verge of a breakthrough, a gateway to somewhere. Nowhere in sight was the symbol etched on the demon's armor, but the feeling evoked was the same, a swirling vortex of possibility, a transgression against some unknown law. The image dissolved, replaced by a scene of utter chaos. The lab was in ruins, smoke billowing from scorched equipment. My colleagues lay on the floor, their faces contorted in eternal screams. But the most horrifying sight was the portal in the center of the room, a swirling vortex of darkness that pulsed with an otherworldly energy. A feeling of overwhelming dread filled me, the realization crashing down like a thunderclap I had opened a doorway to hell. I woke with a gasp, sweat clinging to my skin. The War Council chamber swam before my eyes, the echo of Lucifer's voice slowly pulling me back to reality. "Asmodeus," he boomed, "dispatch your lesser demons. Let them fan the flames of war. We shall witness the spectacle from the comfort of this chamber." The confidence in Lucifer's voice sent a shiver down my spine. The demons seemed overly confident, their preparations for a nuclear war too meticulous. It was as if they knew, with absolute certainty, that humanity wouldn't hesitate to use those weapons. This certainty was unsettling, a chilling hint at some deeper manipulation at play. Suddenly, a blinding light erupted from the chamber doors. I flinched, shielding my eyes with my arm. When the light subsided, the room held its breath. A winged figure stood amidst the smoke and dust, clad in gleaming armor that radiated an otherworldly glow. Her wings, shimmering with an iridescent sheen, were spread wide, casting a protective halo behind her. Her face, obscured by a radiant helmet, seemed to emanate power and determination. "Your reign of terror ends now, Lucifer," she declared, her voice echoing with authority. The power radiating from her was undeniable, a beacon of hope in this desolate world. For a moment, I couldn't tear my eyes away, a conflicted mix of awe and fear twisting in my gut. Hope, so long dormant, flickered within me, a sliver of a chance that humanity might not be doomed after all. But the demons, after a moment of stunned silence, erupted in a cacophony of shouts and insults. Lucifer remained silent, his shadowed form radiating a sinister calm. The battle lines were drawn, the air thick with anticipation. As the angelic warrior, whom my mind helpfully supplied, was named Ariel, faced down the legions of hell, I couldn't help but wonder, was this the consequence of my transgression? Was I, a damned soul in the ninth circle, somehow entangled in this cosmic war? Chapter 4: Secrets of the Damned. Ariel's voice, ringing with righteous fury, echoed through the chamber. You underestimate humanity, Lucifer. They have tasted the bitter fruit of war. They yearn for peace, not annihilation. Lucifer's shadowed form seemed to ripple with suppressed anger. Silence, winged fool. You dare speak of peace in our presence? Humanity is a festering wound on this universe, ripe for cleansing. With a roar, he raised a hand, unleashing a torrent of dark energy towards Ariel. She met it head-on, her hand outstretched, a shimmering shield forming in front of her. The dark energy dissipated with a hiss, leaving behind a swirling vortex of smoke and ash. The battle commenced. Demons surged forward, a grotesque assortment of twisted forms. One, a hulking beast with razor-sharp claws, lunged at Ariel. She pivoted gracefully, her sword flashing in a blur of silver as it cleaved the beast in two. Another, a serpentine creature with glowing red eyes, spat a stream of venomous fire. Ariel dodged with an inhuman agility, the flames sizzling harmlessly against her shimmering armor. Kale watched in awe, fear slowly giving way to a grudging admiration. Ariel moved with the grace of a dancer, her every move calculated and precise. Her sword, a blinding beacon in the dim light, cut through the demonic ranks like a scythe through wheat. The stench of burning flesh and sulfur filled the air, a grim counterpoint to the symphony of clashing steel and demonic shrieks. But the demons were relentless. They swarmed Ariel, their grotesque forms obscuring her from view. For a moment, panic flared within me. But then, a blinding light erupted from the mass of writhing bodies. Ariel emerged, unscathed, her sword glowing with an unearthly power. With a surge of energy, she unleashed a wave of pure light, a torrent of radiant energy that slammed into the remaining demons. They howled in pain, their forms dissolving into wisps of dark smoke that vanished through cracks in the floor, portals leading back to the infernal abyss. Silence descended upon the chamber, broken only by the ragged gasps of the fallen demons. Ariel stood tall, her wings slowly folding behind her. She turned her gaze towards Lucifer, who remained seated on his throne, a look of begrudging respect flickering in his shadowed eyes. "You have won this time," he conceded, his voice devoid of its usual arrogance. "This is not victory," Ariel countered, her voice echoing the profound sadness. "It is a temporary reprieve. You have underestimated humanity before, Lucifer. They have the strength to resist your manipulations." A flicker of surprise crossed Gorgon's face. "Manipulations?" he scoffed. "We merely nudged them in the right direction." Ariel's gaze swept through the chamber, landing on Kale. He flinched, an icy hand of dread gripping his heart. But her next words sent a jolt through him. "This is not the first time we have faced battle," she revealed. "Throughout history, demons have whispered lies and sown discord, manipulating humanity towards self-destruction. But each time, there have been those who have resisted warriors of light who have fought to preserve peace." A wave of realization washed over Kale. The symbol on the demon's armor, the memory it triggered, it wasn't just a transgression, it was a connection. He, a damned soul, was somehow entangled in this cosmic war. Ariel turned back to Lucifer, her voice firm. "You have lost this round, but the war is far from over. We will be watching, and we will not allow you to prevail." With a final glare at the fallen demons, she raised her sword, and in a flash of blinding light, she vanished. Silence once again filled the chamber, heavy with the weight of the revelation. Kale stared at the spot where Ariel had stood, a sliver of hope flickering within him. But beneath that hope, a chilling question gnawed at him: what role did he play in this war? And more importantly, was there any hope for redemption for a damned soul who had inadvertently opened the gateway to hell? Chapter 5: Damnation's Bargain. The aftermath of the battle hung heavy in the air. The stench of sulfur now mingled with the acrid tang of burnt flesh, a grim reminder of the recent skirmish. The fallen demons had vanished, leaving behind empty armor and smoldering embers. Exhausted and battered, the remaining demons slunk away, casting wary glances towards the empty space where Ariel had stood. As the chamber emptied, a lone figure emerged from the shadows. Ariel, her armor still faintly glowing with residual power, approached Cale. He flinched, his heart hammering against his ribs. She stopped a few paces away, her gaze holding a hint of curiosity. "You," she said, her voice soft but firm. "The one who witnessed the symbol." Cale swallowed, his throat dry. I don't understand." "What symbol?" He forced himself to meet her gaze, a flicker of defiance sparking within him. A gentle smile touched Ariel's lips. "The symbol on the demon's armor. It represents the gateway, the one you inadvertently opened." The revelation struck him like a physical blow. The fragmented memories, the unsettling feeling of dread, it all clicked into place. A wave of nausea washed over him. He was a damned soul, not just for some unknown transgression, but for unleashing the very demons who tormented him. As if sensing his turmoil, Ariel raised a hand. "It was not your fault," she said, her voice filled with empathy. "You were manipulated, used as a pawn by forces beyond your understanding." With a wave of her hand, a shimmering portal opened, revealing a fragmented glimpse of Cale's past, a sterile laboratory, blinking computer screens, a sense of frantic urgency. There he was, younger, his face etched with a desperate determination. He was fiddling with complex equations, pushing the boundaries of forbidden knowledge. The image dissolved, replaced by a scene of utter chaos, the lab in ruins, his colleagues lying lifeless on the floor. In the center, a swirling vortex of darkness pulsed with an otherworldly energy, the gateway he had unwittingly opened. Cale sank to his knees, overwhelmed by a crushing wave of guilt. He had condemned himself and countless others to eternal suffering. Ariel gently closed the portal. "You opened the gateway, Cale, but you are not responsible for the demons' actions. They twisted your research, used it to further their own agenda." Cale looked up, a flicker of hope battling the despair in his eyes. "Why am I here then? Why was I brought to this war council?" "Because," Ariel explained, "your connection to the gateway is unique. It creates a vulnerability, a chink in the demon's armor. They brought you here to silence you, to ensure you wouldn't interfere." Silence descended, broken only by the ragged gasps of the fallen demons who were slowly regenerating. Cale felt a weight settle on him, the weight of a choice. He could remain in this desolate wasteland, a tormented soul forever paying for his transgression. Or he could embrace the knowledge, the burden of his connection, and help fight the very beings responsible for his damnation. Ariel knelt before him, her eyes filled with a quiet strength. "The war is far from over, Cale. We need your knowledge, your understanding of the gateway. Will you join us? Will you fight for a chance at redemption?" Cale stared at her, the weight of the decision pressing down on him. This was his hell, his punishment. But a spark of defiance, a sliver of hope flickered within him. Perhaps, just perhaps, even a damned soul could find redemption in the fight against evil. Chapter 6: Training for War. The world shimmered into existence, a vibrant tapestry of colors, replacing the desolate wasteland I had known for so long. Gone were the oppressive skies and sulphurous stench, replaced by the sweet scent of pine and the gentle caress of a warm breeze. Kale, a damned soul no more, stood bathed in the golden light of a setting sun. Ariel, her celestial armor replaced by simple travel garb, stood beside him. "Welcome to Haven," she said, gesturing towards the verdant expanse that stretched out before them. A sanctuary hidden from demonic eyes, a haven for those chosen to fight for humanity. Haven was a hidden utopia, nestled deep within a forgotten mountain range. Here, humans with a special connection to the celestial plane trained to combat demonic influence. Though my arrival was met with curiosity, there was an undercurrent of distrust and understandable reaction considering my past. The training was grueling. My body, accustomed to the eternal stillness of hell, ached with every movement as I pushed myself to the limit. Swordsmanship, hand-to-hand combat, tactical formations each day brought a new challenge, a new way to hone my skills for the coming battle. My instructors, seasoned warriors, with a steely glint in their eyes, pushed me relentlessly, reminding me constantly of the stakes involved. But the physical training was child's play compared to the mental battles I fought within. The guilt of opening the gateway, of unleashing the demons upon the world, was a constant companion. Nightmares plagued my sleep visions of a world ravaged by war, of innocent lives lost. Ariel, sensing my torment, became a beacon of guidance. She helped me channel my guilt into determination, reminding me that it was never too late to atone. Another crucial aspect of the training was learning about the enemy. I spent hours in the library, poring over ancient texts that spoke of humanity's secret history with demons. Asmodeus, the master manipulator, was adept at sowing discord and mistrust among humans, subtly influencing them towards self-destruction. There were lesser demons too, the hulking brutes with their raw physical strength, the serpentine tempters with their venomous whispers, and the nightmarish specters who fed on fear. Learning about their vulnerabilities was a vital part of our training. A well-placed holy symbol could disrupt a demon's attacks, while pure celestial energy, channeled through specific wards, could banish them back to hell. But the knowledge also instilled a chilling fear. The sheer diversity and power of the demonic forces was staggering. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in fiery hues, I found myself kneeling in a secluded clearing. Ariel sat next to me, her presence a source of quiet strength. I closed my eyes, focusing on the faint hum that vibrated beneath the surface of the world. It was the echo of the gateway, a dormant connection that pulsed with my heartbeat. Tentatively, I reached out with my mind, a tendril of consciousness probing the connection. Images flashed across my mind, swirling shadows, whispers of ancient power. The sensation was intoxicating, and I felt myself drawn deeper. A sudden jolt of pain brought me back to reality. Ariel's hand rested on my shoulder, her voice firm but gentle. "Be careful, Kale," she warned. "The gateway holds immense power, but it can also be a trap. You must learn to control it, to use it as a weapon against the demons, not succumb to its allure." Shame flooded me. Even here, in this haven of hope, I still felt the pull of that forbidden knowledge. The road to redemption, I realized, was long and arduous, filled with challenges both external and internal. But for the first time since my arrival in hell, I felt a flicker of something new, not just hope, but a sense of purpose. I would use my unique connection, forged in a moment of transgression, to fight against the very beings who had condemned me. Chapter 7. Whispers in the Night. Sleep, once a blissful escape from the horrors of hell, had become a battleground. Nightmares, vivid and terrifying, plagued my slumber. I relived the moment I opened the gateway, the lab exploding in a blinding flash. This time, however, the demons that poured through weren't faceless entities. They wore the faces of my former colleagues, their accusatory stares a constant reminder of my transgression. I woke with a gasp, sweat clinging to my skin like a shroud. The darkness of the room pressed in on me, suffocating. The silence was broken only by the rhythmic beat of my own heart, which hammered against my ribs like a frantic bird trapped in a cage. The guilt, a constant companion since my arrival in Haven, gnawed at me. Was I truly worthy of redemption? Or was I a ticking time bomb, waiting to unleash the demons once more? The doubt festered within me, bleeding into my waking hours. During training sessions, my movements were sluggish, my focus scattered. Master Cyrus, a grizzled warrior with a scarred face, would shake his head in disappointment. Fight, Kale. Don't let the demons win before the battle even begins. His words echoed in my ears, a harsh reminder of my internal struggle. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in fiery hues, I found myself drawn to the secluded clearing where I first attempted to connect with the gateway. Ariel usually spent her evenings meditating here, drawing strength from the serenity of the place. Today, she was there, her eyes closed, a peaceful expression on her face. Hesitantly, I approached her. She opened her eyes, a knowing smile gracing her lips. Without a word, she patted the space beside her, and I sat down, my heart heavy. The demons are clever, I began, my voice rough with emotion. They don't just attack from the outside. They plant doubts, whisper fears. Ariel nodded, her gaze understanding. The enemy within can be the most difficult to defeat. I took a deep breath, finally voicing the fear that had been gnawing at me. What if I can't control the gateway? What if it overpowers me, and I unleash them again? A flicker of sadness crossed Ariel's face. She remained silent for a moment, then spoke in a voice barely above a whisper. Even the strongest warriors have doubts, Kale. Even those who have dedicated their lives to fighting the darkness. She surprised me then by sharing a secret she'd never revealed before. Centuries ago, she began, I too made a critical mistake. My arrogance led me to underestimate a powerful demon. He merely gained access to the human realm, and only through a desperate gamble did we manage to repel him. My eyes widened. Ariel, the ever-confident warrior, had her own vulnerabilities. The revelation made her seem a little less intimidating, and a lot more relatable. The experience left me scarred, Kale, she continued. But it also taught me a valuable lesson that even the best of us can make mistakes. What matters is how we learn from them, how we choose to move forward. Her words resonated within me, a beacon of hope piercing the darkness of my doubt. Maybe, just maybe, redemption wasn't about erasing the past, but about using it to become stronger. I looked at Ariel, a newfound sense of trust blooming within me. Thank you, I whispered, the words thick with emotion, for sharing your story, for believing in me. Ariel smiled, a hint of warmth in her eyes. We fight together, Kale, and together we will overcome our inner demons and the ones that lurk outside. As we sat in the peaceful clearing, bathed in the soft glow of the first stars, a sense of calm settled over me. The battle ahead would be arduous, the enemy formidable. But for the first time since my arrival in Haven, I didn't face it alone. I had a purpose, a reason to fight. And beside me stood a warrior who understood my struggle, a warrior who believed in the possibility of redemption, even for a damned soul like me. Chapter 8. Unearthing Secrets. The library at Haven was a labyrinth of ancient texts and forgotten knowledge. Dusty tomes lined the towering shelves, each one a potential key to unlocking the secrets of the demonic war. Driven by a newfound purpose, I dove headfirst into research, fueled by the lingering echoes of my past life. As I delved into the history of human conflict, a pattern began to emerge. Dates of major wars, political upheavals, and economic collapses seemed to coincide with periods of heightened demonic activity. The connection was subtle but undeniable. Asmodeus, it seemed, wasn't content with simply waiting for humanity to self-destruct. He was actively manipulating them, whispering doubts and stoking the flames of discord. One particular event caught my eye: a near-miss nuclear standoff between two superpowers a decade ago. The details were eerily similar to the tensions brewing in the world today. And then, a flicker of recognition, a name mentioned in a footnote. Dr. Anya Petrova, a rising political star known for her hawkish stance on national security. A jolt of adrenaline shot through me. Anya Petrova, that was the name of the colleague who had consistently pushed for more aggressive military spending in my past life. Had she too been manipulated by the demons? The thought chilled me to the bone. If Asmodeus had managed to influence a rising politician, then there was no reason to believe he wasn't doing the same now. I had to warn Ariel, get her to investigate Petrova and her sudden shift towards a more militaristic stance. Emerging from the library, I hurried towards the training grounds, my mind racing. But as I rounded a corner, a sharp pain lanced to my shoulder. I stumbled back, gasping in surprise. A figure materialized from the shadows, a grotesque creature with razor-sharp claws and glowing red eyes. A lesser demon, sent no doubt to silence me. Before I could react, the demon lunged. Years of training kicked in, my body moving on autopilot. I dodged the swipe of its claws, adrenaline masking the searing pain in my shoulder. This wasn't a sparring session. This was a fight for survival. Drawing my sword, I parried its next attack, the metal clanging against its razor-sharp claws. We danced a deadly ballet, the demon relying on brute force, while I relied on speed and agility. Just as I saw an opening, a voice boomed from behind me. Enough. Ariel materialized from the shadows, her celestial armor gleaming in the afternoon sun. The lesser demon faltered, a flicker of fear replacing the feral rage in its eyes. With a wave of her hand, she unleashed a torrent of pure energy that slammed into the demon, sending it flying towards the forest with a shriek. It didn't take long for Ariel to dispatch the weakened creature, her movement swift and decisive. As the demon vanished in a puff of smoke, she turned towards me, her expression etched with concern. "Kale, are you all right?" she asked, her voice laced with worry. I gritted my teeth, the pain in my shoulder throbbing. "I'm fine," I lied, wincing as I lowered my sword. "But we have a bigger problem." Quickly, I explained my findings, the historical parallels, Dr. Petrova's name, and my growing suspicion of a hidden demonic network. Ariel listened intently, her brow furrowed in concentration. "This changes everything," she said, her voice grim. "We can't afford to wait for another near miss. We need to expose this network, to sever the demon's influence before it's too late." The enormity of the task settled upon me. We were facing a vast, insidious web of manipulation, woven by the master deceiver himself. But for the first time since my arrival in Haven, fear wasn't the only emotion I felt. There was a spark of determination, a flicker of hope that we could turn the tide, that we could expose the truth before humanity stumbled blindly into another devastating conflict. "We need a plan," Ariel declared, her gaze resolute. "A way to infiltrate this network, gather evidence, and expose them to the world." Together, we huddled beneath the shade of a towering oak, the weight of the world on our shoulders. But as we strategized, brainstorming ideas and formulating a course of action, a sense of unity bloomed between us. We were an unlikely pair, a damned soul and a celestial warrior, but in the face of this looming threat, we were united. Chapter 9: Infiltrating the Darkness. The air hung heavy with a cloying, sulfurous stench as we crouched amidst the crumbling ruins of an abandoned church. This, according to our intel, gleaned from a captured demon, was the gateway, a hidden entrance to the very heart of the demonic network, a subterranean temple where a blasphemous ritual was about to culminate. The plan was audacious, bordering on suicidal. Ariel, shrouded in an illusionary disguise, would create a diversion by attacking a nearby demonic stronghold. Chaos she caused would create a window for me to slip through the gateway and disrupt the ritual. The risk was immense. If I was captured, the consequences would be dire. But the potential reward, severing Asmodeus' hold on the world leaders and preventing a global conflict, outweighed the fear gnawing at my gut. Clad in stolen cultist robes, I felt like a wolf in sheep's clothing. The ritualistic symbols stitched onto the garment felt alien against my skin, a constant reminder of the darkness I was infiltrating. Ariel, her expression solemn yet resolute, placed a hand on my shoulder. "Remember, Kale," she whispered, her voice low and urgent. "You are a shadow. Move unseen, stay undetected. If anything goes wrong, prioritize escape." I nodded, my throat dry. Taking a deep breath, I activated the amulet. Ariel had crafted a device designed to mask my presence from demonic detection. With a final glance at Ariel, who vanished in a flicker of celestial light, I entered the gateway. The stench intensified as I descended a narrow, damp tunnel. The air crackled with a malevolent energy, and the flickering torchlight cast grotesque shadows that danced on the damp walls. My scientific background came in handy as I navigated the labyrinthine passages, using my knowledge of pressure points and structural weaknesses to bypass hidden traps. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the tunnel opened onto a vast cavern. In the center, a swirling vortex of dark energy pulsed rhythmically, emanating from a towering obsidian altar. Clad in crimson robes, a coven of cultists chanted in a guttural language, their voices resonating with a dark power. This was it, the heart of the ritual. As I watched, a figure emerged from the shadows, Dr. Petrova, her eyes glowing with an unnatural red light. She held aloft a golden amulet, identical to the one I wore, except it thrummed with a sinister power. The realization hit me like a physical blow. The amulet I wore was a copy, a decoy. They knew I was coming. Panic surged through me, but I forced it down. I had to act fast. Spotting a hidden lever near the entrance, I activated it with a silent prayer. Cavern floor rumbled, a grinding vibration echoing through the chamber. The cultists faltered, their chanting breaking off mid-word. Petrova whirled around, her eyes blazing with fury. "You," she spat, recognizing me despite my disguise. "You shouldn't be here." Before I could react, the cavern entrance exploded with blinding light. Ariel, a whirlwind of celestial energy, had arrived. Demons poured out of the collapsing tunnel, drawn to the sudden surge of celestial power. Pandemonium erupted, the chamber echoing with screams and the clash of steel. Using the chaos as a cover, I sprinted towards the altar. My heart pounded in my chest as I reached the demonic amulet. With a surge of determination, I channeled the faint echo of the gateway within me, focusing on the connection. A wave of dizziness washed over me, the world blurring around the edges. Then, with a blinding flash, the amulet shattered and the swirling vortex of dark energy sputtered and died. Silence descended, broken only by the moans of the wounded and the fading roars of retreating demons. Exhausted and battered, I collapsed onto the cold stone floor. Ariel materialized beside me, her armor dented and scorched, but her gaze burning with determination. We had disrupted the ritual, but the victory felt bittersweet. The battle for humanity's soul was far from over. Chapter 11, A Pyrrhic Victory. Days bled into weeks as I recuperated from the harrowing ordeal at the temple. My body, a patchwork of bruises and burns, slowly healed. But the emotional scars ran deeper, a gnawing unease settling in my gut. The victory, hard won as it was, felt hollow. Ariel, ever present at my bedside, maintained a stoic facade. But there was a flicker of worry in her eyes, a hint of something unspoken. Finally, one evening as the last rays of the setting sun painted the room in hues of orange and gold, she decided to break the silence. "Kale," she began, her voice gentle yet firm, "there's something you need to know." I braced myself, a sense of foreboding washing over me. "What is it, Ariel?" Taking a deep breath, she explained the true cost of our victory. "Your actions at the temple," she said, "severed your connection to the gateway. But in doing so, you also weakened the very barrier that separates our world from hell." My blood ran cold. Weakened the barrier? Did that mean— "Yes," Ariel confirmed, her voice heavy with regret. "The demons can now exert a stronger influence on humanity. Their whispers will be louder, their manipulations more potent." The weight of the revelation crashed down on me. I had fought so hard to redeem myself, to atone for unleashing the demons in the first place. And now, my actions had inadvertently made it easier for them to spread their corruption. "This is my fault," I whispered, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. "I tried to do good, but I just made things worse." Ariel placed a hand on my shoulder, her touch surprisingly warm. "No, Kale, you did what you thought was right. You disrupted the ritual, prevented a war. But every battle has its consequences." Her words offered little comfort. The future stretched before me, a grim landscape shrouded in demonic influence. I could almost hear the whispers, the insidious doubt and fear that the demons would use to sow discord amongst humans. The battles ahead, I realized with a sinking heart, would be even more difficult. Days turned into weeks, the weight of the revelation a constant companion. Training intensified, a desperate attempt to prepare ourselves for the onslaught to come. But the shadow of doubt lingered, a persistent virus infecting our resolve. One evening, as I sat alone under the starlit sky, lost in a sea of worry, Master Cyrus approached me. The grizzled warrior, his battle-scarred face etched with concern, sat down beside me. "Fear is a powerful weapon," he rumbled, his voice surprisingly gentle. "But it can also be a crippling one." He pointed at the vast expanse of the night sky, dotted with twinkling stars. "Look up, Kale. See those stars." I followed his gaze, the vastness of the universe washing over me. What was that have to do with anything? Master Cyrus smiled, a rare sight on his weathered face. "Those stars," he said, "represent hope. They represent the countless beings fighting against darkness, even in the farthest corners of the cosmos. We are not alone in this fight, Kale, and even the smallest act of courage can make a difference." His words struck a chord within me. Hope, a flickering ember, rekindled within my heart. The future might be bleak, but we weren't powerless. We could fight, not just for humanity, but for every being in the universe threatened by demonic tyranny. The road ahead would be arduous, filled with sacrifices, and setbacks. But with a newfound resolve, I steeled myself. The path to redemption, I realized, wasn't paved with victories, but with the unwavering will to fight, even in the face of overwhelming odds. Chapter 12, A Glimmer of Hope. Despair, a suffocating shroud, had threatened to consume us. The revelation of the weakened barrier, the amplified demonic influence, it was a heavy burden to bear. But as we sat in the quiet solitude of the library, surrounded by ancient texts and flickering candles, a different kind of fire began to ignite within us, the fire of defiance. Ariel, her celestial armor gleaming faintly in the dim light, met my gaze. "We can't give up, Kale," she said, her voice firm despite the weariness etched on her face. "We may have suffered a setback, but the fight is far from over." Her words echoed a sentiment that had been growing within me. The path to redemption wasn't paved with easy victories, but with the unwavering will to fight, even in the face of darkness. And as I looked at Ariel, a warrior marked by past mistakes, yet determined to forge a better future, I realized there was another way to fight a way that didn't rely solely on brute force. "What if," I began, my voice raspy from disuse, "we used a different approach? What if we exposed the truth about the demons, not just to ourselves, but to the world?" Ariel's brow furrowed in thought. Expose the truth? But how? Most wouldn't believe such a fantastical tale. "That's where science comes in," I countered, a flicker of excitement lighting up my voice. My past life as a scientist, once a source of shame, now felt like a potential weapon. "We can combine my knowledge with your celestial abilities to provide irrefutable proof of a demonic influence. Recordings, energy readings, we can present evidence that can't be easily dismissed." A slow smile spread across Ariel's face. "It's a gamble, Kale, but a bold one. And if it works, it could change everything." The plan, audacious as it was, ignited a spark of hope within Haven. Weeks were spent strategizing, gathering evidence, and honing Ariel's ability to manipulate earthly technology for our purposes. Finally, the day arrived for me to share my story. Standing in a makeshift recording studio, a strange mix of nerves and determination coursed through me. The camera, a relic from a bygone era retrieved from the outside world, felt alien in my hands. But as I took a deep breath and looked into the lens, I knew this was my chance to make a difference. I began by speaking of my past life, the hubris that led me to open the gateway, and the subsequent descent into the horrors of hell. My voice trembled slightly as I described the grotesque reality of that realm, the endless suffering inflicted by the demons. Then I spoke of Haven, a beacon of hope hidden within the world. I spoke of the warriors who dedicated their lives to fighting the unseen enemy, and of Ariel, a celestial being who had become my ally on this path to redemption. Most importantly, I spoke the truth about the looming threat. With the help of Ariel's celestial energy, I projected holographic images, terrifying glimpses of the demonic realm, recordings of intercepted demonic transmissions attempting to sow discord among world leaders. The evidence, undeniable and irrefutable, hung in the air, filling the room with a heavy silence. Finally, I addressed the world directly. "We are not powerless," I declared, my voice gaining strength with every word. "The demons may be strong, but they thrive in secrecy. Now, you know the truth. Fight back, not with violence, but with awareness, with unity. Together, we can resist their manipulation and build a future free from their influence." As I switched off the camera, a wave of exhaustion washed over me. But beneath the fatigue, there was a flicker of hope. The barrier may be weakened, but humanity was no longer in the dark. With knowledge as our weapon, we stood a chance to fight back against the demons, not just for ourselves, but for the future of humanity. The battle raged on, but for the first time, we fought with the power of truth on our side.